Welcome back to Reds Roundup. In this video, we're going to be looking at Bill Ackman's Q2 portfolio for 2020. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Let's get into it. So here we see the portfolio changes he made over the past quarter. And we have, starting out here, Restaurant Brands International. He added shares for over 7% of his portfolio. Lowe's, he added more shares. Very small impact though, that's why it's not highlighted. Hughes Corporation. This is his big new investment that he made in Q1 of 2020, and you'll see that it makes up a pretty substantial portion of his overall portfolio now. So he just reduced that by a 10% amount. Not sure exactly why he did that, but probably has a good reason. And then he sold out of 3 stocks here: Berkshire Hathaway, Blackstone, and Park Hotels. So Park Hotels and Resorts, he sold out of that because he wasn't able to build a meaningful position in his portfolio to warrant being a full stake. So he has a very concentrated portfolio, doesn't ever have more than 10 stocks really, and he just couldn't build up a big enough position in Blackstone or Park Hotels. But that brings us to Berkshire Hathaway, which he owned a substantial portion of his portfolio in. Over 15% of his portfolio was in Berkshire Hathaway. That is the company, the conglomerate owned by Warren Buffett, or ran by Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. So why do you think he did that? That leads me to some other point. The opposite of Buffett. So that is exactly what Ackman did. So he bought restaurant brands while Buffett sold restaurant brands. And Ackman sold Berkshire Hathaway while Buffett bought a record number of share buybacks for his own company, Berkshire Hathaway. So this is really interesting. 2 value investors that have really different opinions on where the U.S. economy is going and what's going to be happening to the U.S. consumer over time. Buffett thinks maybe not restaurants as much and not financials, whereas Ackman thinks that restaurants are going to be holding strong. He has a substantial portion of his portfolio in restaurants in 2 different stocks, which we'll see coming up here right now. So this is Bill Ackman's current portfolio. So you see here, starting out, the biggest allotment is to Lowe's Corporation. So Lowe's is the outdoor retailer, we know about that. Restaurant Brands here at 17%, and then Chipotle coming in at 15%. So if you combine Chipotle, Restaurant Brands, and Starbucks, Bill Ackman has a huge exposure to restaurants and consumer food and beverage. That's pretty interesting. And then for his next pick, Agilent Technologies. So this pick is way different than any of his other picks. His other picks are consumer-facing brands. Hughes is real estate. But this one is interesting because it's not exactly a consumer-facing brand. Hilton, Starbucks, and Hughes, which is his new one, this is a real estate play. Commercial, residential, and housing, real estate. So that's interesting. So there's his portfolio right now. Let's take a look in depth at Lowe's. So Lowe's is the home improvement and other hardware store that you all probably know about. There's probably a Lowe's near where you live if you live in the United States, at least. So Lowe's has a market cap of around $116 billion. So that's pretty large. They trade at a PE ratio of 26. So that's a little bit elevated, but given the fact that they've grown despite the pandemic in Q2, that is impressive, and they're going to be trading at a larger multiple, especially given the fact that the market as a whole is fairly richly valued right now as well. So Ackman's owned Lowe's since Q2 of 2018, so it's been 2 years now at this point he's owned Lowe's. So I assume he's just going to keep on owning Lowe's for a while. Next one is Restaurant Brands. So Restaurant Brands is the company that owns and franchises Burger King, Tim Hortons, and Popeyes. So those are three businesses, 3 franchises that are pretty popular within North America and beyond a little bit. So they're sitting at a market cap of $16 billion, a PE ratio of 25, and a dividend yield of almost 4%. And so he was buying probably around the $50 range in quarter two, so he hasn't really seen that much of an appreciation. He's owned restaurant brands since 2012. They franchise these companies and they have low capex because they pretty much just get the royalties from the franchising of these uh, restaurants. So next one here is the Chipotle Mexican Grill. So Chipotle has a market cap of 33 billion, a PE ratio, very high PE ratio of 131. Wow, that's large. And no dividend. And from the March lows, they've gone from around $400 per share to now over $1,000 per share. So Bill Ackman has owned this stock since 2016, so he has held through even the big crashes. Chipotle is pretty much everybody's favorite restaurant, if not Mexican quick restaurant in the United States. They have over 2,500 restaurants. Very successful business model, very successful business. I don't see him selling Chipotle anytime soon. So now is Agilent Technologies. It's a healthcare and life sciences company. They do a lot of really complicated things. Their earnings has gone down since the pandemic has started. Sadly, they trade at a PE ratio of 44, almost 45. So that's pretty richly valued. A small dividend of only 0.73% and a market cap of around $30 billion. So he's owned this since 2019, quarter three of 2019. This is a little bit of a unique pick for Ackman right now. So let's take a look back at the other companies which we haven't talked about. Hilton, Starbucks, and Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes Corporation is the big new one for this year that he just started buying a lot of. And even though he trimmed his position, it still makes up a large percentage of his portfolio as a whole. So Howard Hughes Corporation, very interesting pick. It's gone down over 50% from its highs before the pandemic. So it'll be interesting to see what is happening there. I would say that's probably his stock with the biggest upside right now. Starbucks, everybody knows about Starbucks and Hilton. So that's Bill Ackman's portfolio. If you like this video, if you enjoyed it, leave a like. Please subscribe, comment. See ya.